So today we are going to use Adobe Animate to create a bouncing ball using the motion tween. So the first thing we're going to do is go to Create New. We're going to choose Education, High, and I want you to reset your frame rate to 12. Right now your frame rate is set to 24. That means for each second of animation you have to do 24 frames. Setting it down to 12 means you'll have to do 12 frames of animation to make a second. So we're going to go down here and click Create. Okay, so here's our stage. The stage is the white part of the animation. Our timeline is down here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and draw a ball. So I want you to go to the oval tool, and I want you to drag it on your stage until you have a ball. Okay. Whenever we create a object on our stage, we want to convert it to a symbol. So to convert this to a symbol, I'm going to go up here and I'm going to choose the arrow, the selection tool, and I'm going to make sure I highlight the entire shape. If I don't highlight the entire shape and just click on it, what will happen is you'll only get part of the shape. You can see the outline here is left behind. So you want to make sure you highlight and select the entire shape. So you can either right click on it and choose Convert to Symbol, or you can come over here to the Properties tab and it should automatically go to Object, but if it doesn't, Properties, Object, and there's a button here that is Convert to Symbol. It's going to ask you to name it. So I'm going to name this one Ball and say OK. What will happen is it will now put that shape in our library. I can go over here to my library and you can see here is the shape, the object, the ball. All right. So now what I want to do is I want to create a timeline for my animation. So I'm going to go down here to my timeline. I decided I want to do an animation that's about 100 frames long. So I'm going to click on frame 100, and then I'm going to go here to the Insert Keyframe option. Now what you want to do is you want to click your mouse and hold your mouse down. It's called a long click, because what that will do is it'll bring up other options. Okay, I want this to be a frame, just a frame. So I'm going to click on frame, and you can see it has now added in 100 frames. Okay, the other options are a blank keyframe or a keyframe. We wanted this to just be a frame. Okay, so the next step is we need to add the motion tween into our animation. So a motion tween is a way that sort of animates it for you. So you can click anywhere in this timeline, and then I want you to go up here to the Create Tween button. Now, right now it's on a classic tween, and we don't want that. So I want you to long hold, which means click and hold your mouse button down, and choose Create Motion Tween. And what it should do is highlight the timeline. So now we want to click on, and that added it in. So now we want to click on frame 100, and I'm going to take my ball and I'm going to drag it all the way to the right side of the screen. And what happened is it just put all these dots in here, which is exactly what I wanted to happen. If that didn't happen for you, go back and try it again. All right. And if you click anywhere along the timeline now, the ball will move back and forth along that line. And if you hit play, it will just slowly follow that line to the end. Now, the longer I make my animation, the slower it will move because it only has so many points in the animation. All right, so I want to go back here to frame 1. So if I click on frame 1, it will return to the state where it was for frame 1. And you'll notice if you put your mouse over this blue line, an arch appears. And I can actually drag this blue line into different shapes. All right. If I hit enter, you'll see the ball will follow the blue line up and over in the shape it is now. But that's not what we want to do. So I actually want to do the ball as it's bouncing. So I want to do a lot of different arches in this timeline. So what we need to do is we need to insert a keyframe. What a keyframe does is it puts a state of change. So it tells the animation that anything between the 2 points are one state, anything after that point is a different state. So I'm going to go ahead and click on frame 15. I'm going to long click on the keyframe, the frame button, and I want to choose keyframe. All right, and what it does is it puts a black dot there. All right, if I go ahead and move the ball, you'll see that that dot is actually a fatter dot than the other dot. It's a bigger dot because that's a keyframe, and actually that's on frame 15. All right, so if I now go into the blue dots between my keyframe and my original keyframe, you'll see I can now create an arch out of just these items. If I go over here, it'll still do all of them because I haven't added any more keyframes in. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and add the rest of the keyframes in. Now when a ball bounces, the first bounce is really big, and each ball gets successively smaller, each bounce. So what I want to do is the first one I did 15. This one I'm actually going to do like 14. So I'm going to insert a keyframe there. And then I'm going to do a few less, insert a keyframe, and maybe a few less. And every time I do it, I'm going to do it a little closer together so it looks like it's speeding up as it gets closer to the end of the bounce, until at the very end it's just rolling. And at any time, if you make a mistake, you can just hit Control-Z on your keyboard and undo it. All right, so I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to put the ball on here, and I want to make an arch now out of this section. Now pay attention, if you put your mouse on the keyframe dot, it creates this pointy arch, and that's not what we want. We don't want a triangle. We don't want it to go straight up and come straight down. We want to do a nice clean arch. But if you put your mouse anywhere else on the line, it gives you the arch, not the angle. So I actually want to go to this one, and I'm going to drag it up, make it a little smaller than the last one, and I'm just going to keep doing this. So I'm going to go to each section and just drag my arch up a little bit each time. Oops, I missed it that time. Let's see. So I accidentally let go and I have to make sure my mouse turns into a little arch before I grab it. And that time it didn't, so I had to undo what I did. All right, so now I can play it. I can hit play and watch the ball bounce through. And hold on, I'll play it from the start. Okay, so the ball bounces, but a bouncy ball, when it hits the ground, squishes a little bit. So what we want to do is we want to go back here to frame 15. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to squish the ball. But to do that, I need to change my tool. And the tool I need to use is the free transform tool. So what I'm going to do is I want to squish the ball. However, I want to make sure the ball squishes when it hits and then unsquishes when it moves away. And to do that, what I need to do is add a keyframe on either side of the moment when I want that to happen. So I'm going to click on frame 14 and add a keyframe. And then I'm going to click on frame 16 and add a keyframe. Now I can go back to frame 15 and I can squash the ball. I actually want to put it so it's right down at the bottom. Okay, so now what'll happen, and if I use the playhead to scrub through, when it hits the bottom, it actually squishes and then see? So now I want to do that for the other areas. So I want to add a keyframe right before and right after each section. Okay, so I'm going to go back to, oops, I'm going to go back to this one and I'm going to squish it down again. But I want to do it a little less than last time because the ball would squish a little bit less each time it hit because it's not bouncing as hard. So this time I did a really big squish. This time I'm going to do a little smaller squish. This time I'm going to do a little less of a squish. And each time until I'm not squishing it at all to make it sort of look realistic. because I don't think after that it would squish at all because the bouncers are so small. So I can hit play. Let's go back to the beginning. And I'm going to hit play. And now the ball squishes when it hits the ground until it rolls away. Okay? And to save this, you do File, Export, Export Animated GIF. And you've just created an animated GIF of your ball bounce.